I'm joined now by Damian Hinds, the Employment Minister. Very good morning to you, Mr. Hinds. Well, you know, it could be interpreted as tinkering, targeting. How many people will that affect?
Well, in the what's called the support group within Employment Support Allowance, about 1.5 million people. And these are people who are furthest away from being in work. But many of them could be in work, and we know many of them want to be in work. But because of being in the support group, which does carry a higher rate of benefit, but you actually get lower support through the job centre network and so on. And we're looking at how you can tailor that, treating everyone as an individual.
So it might have been previous administration, but how did you set up a support group that doesn't offer support? They got that wrong, didn't they?
Well, it's quite right that for people who can't work, of course, that there should be ongoing support. But what we're looking at now is asking disabled people themselves, asking the charities who work with disabled people, the experts in the field, how we can do better to make sure that we have more support and appropriate support to help people to overcome whatever barriers there may be. And sometimes they're quite high, sometimes it takes quite a lot of time, and actually it needs more support to help them to get back towards employment.
Well, there you are, you've said it. We could do better, and you're saying it's affecting hundreds of thousands, maybe over 1 million people. A repudiation of the policies of the past from your own party. You were too harsh on these people.
Well, I think it's right that there is a work capability assessment. Actually, it came in under the Labour government
I want to talk
2008.
But again, Damian Green talking about the Work and Pensions Day. We were talking about the work capability assessment, saying, well, you know, some people don't have to go through them all again. So George Osborne, Ian Duncan Smith, when he was in post, they were too harsh.
Well, look, the work capability assessment has been reviewed 5 times. A number of improvements have been made. There's much better understanding about mental health conditions, about the specific impediments to work or how particular conditions affect your ability to work. What we're talking about today in the Green Paper that comes out tomorrow, the consultation, is asking how we can do better with that work capability assessment to assess what sorts of support would be most appropriate for people without jeopardising a higher level of benefit that they're in receipt of.
Is there a cost to this, though, this potential softening?
Well, we are not. First of all, I must stress, you know, we're not looking through this. It's not about welfare savings. It's about better tailored support. And there are a lot of people who
within the same budget. I mean, we've still got those Osborne cuts coming down the line until we hear the autumn statement or indeed the first Philip Hammond budget. But at the moment, there are still substantial billions of pounds of cuts in the pipeline for years to come. Well, are those things that will be re-examined overall? Because that's what the charities, that's what the Labour Party is saying you should really be looking at.
Well, we're asking charities, we're asking disabled people how we can do better with this assessment to tailor support. Look, we have a network of over 700 job centres in the country. We work with many third sector organisations, individual organisations locally, some on a national basis, all of them doing something to help people get closer.
But are you prepared to spend more money on that
and the
ambition?
Question is, and we're currently recruiting, so we are increasing the number of staff right now who are work coaches in our job centres. Part of the question is how do we deploy our resource to best use so the people who need the most support get the most support?
Well, I mean, but I still don't think you answered the simple question. Is it still within that same envelope of spending? It seems like we've got a whole new administration. We've certainly got a new Chancellor. We've certainly got new personnel in at the Department of Work and Pensions. Is it within that same overall budget, or are you prepared to loosen the ties a bit?
Well, you will know the Chancellor has an autumn statement coming up, and it is for the Chancellor to say exactly what is in his plans. What we're talking about today is how we take the support that is available through the Job Centre network and possibly through other channels as well, and how we deploy that most effectively. We've had a lot more people getting into work. There are fewer unemployed people now, down below 5% unemployment, but there are still a lot of people who are not in the labour market who would like to work, and our question is how do we do better, how can we do better to help them to fulfil all their potential?
Well, let's talk about people in work, and I want to ask you about the Nissan deal or not. Did the government do a deal with Nissan to keep its investment in the Sunderland plant? Greg Clark, the business secretary, said this morning the UK objective is to have no tariffs or bureaucratic barriers to the UK auto sector selling into the EU market.
Well, look, this is fantastic news. So Nissan confirming about the Qashqai and also the X-Trail that secures 7,000 jobs in the North East and a further 28,000 in the UK supply chain. This is a good news story, and we should celebrate it for what it is. It's a great vote of confidence in Great Britain. It's a great vote of confidence in the North East. And it's also, I think, a vote of confidence in the ongoing and long-standing support and partnership that the UK government has had with the automotive sector on things like skills, on investing in infrastructure, on our commitment to development of low-carbon
technologies. Will other
technologies.
car makers get the similar guarantees?
And so on. There is nothing that has been promised to Nissan which is not available to other car makers. This is about
what has
the
been promised to
conditions.
Nissan?
This is about the conditions that are in this country which are advantageous for car manufacturers. So, for example, the government has invested £400 million since 2010 in the automotive sector. We've got the Advanced Propulsion Centre with investing in low carbon
nothing has been offered to
technologies
Nissan that will not be offered to other car makers. So what has been offered
that is
to
not
Nissan?
available to other car makers. So this is about a highly skilled workforce. It's about the government taking the big decisions to make the right investments in our infrastructure, big, bold decisions. It's about our commitment to 3 million apprenticeships.
And if the
UK
does a so-called hard Brexit and has to operate under World Trade Organisation rules, and you face up to 10% tariffs on your exports, you'll be compensated.
There has been no promise of money made to Nissan. And I think I don't accept this sort of choice between hard Brexit, soft Brexit. Is it the single market? Is it immigration? The Prime Minister has been very clear that the government seeks to maximise the opportunities for British companies to trade with and in the European market, and also for companies from those countries to trade with and in our market, and also to get control over immigration. And the point for the automotive sector is that the government is reaffirming its commitment to the automotive sector, is reaffirming all the things we want to develop as a trading nation, being outward-looking, being bold, being ambitious, and carrying on the great record that the car industry in this country has, exporting 1 million cars last year.
So much carrying on your patch, actually, Mr. Hinds. I want to ask you about this Uber decision. It's an employment tribunal. Two members of the Uber community, as they call it, said, well, we are employees. The employment tribunal decided, yes, they were. Will you legislate in some way, shape or form to make sure that people in this so-called gig economy do have the rights to be employees if they want?
Well, I understand Uber may appeal that decision. In any case, it wouldn't be right for me to talk about an individual company, an individual case. But it is true that there's been a growth in this so-called gig economy or platform economy or on-demand work. And that's part of a wider growth in self-employment. And the Prime Minister, in recognition of some of these changes in the nature of work and some of the concerns that people have, has appointed Matthew Taylor to lead a review into all these aspects, things like security of work, making sure people are being paid fairly, about representation, about progression in work, and about making sure that underrepresented groups in the workforce can maximise their share of opportunities in this new part of the economy.